Tate. You also have others saying to just blame Tate, it's too simple. Right? People noting that this kind of violence against women and girls predates Andrew Tate. You also saw Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan defending themselves as well. Tristan writing that if young boys listened to Andrew Tate, this would not happen. Stoicism, emotional control, self-accountability. Andrew Tate is not dangerous. A society lacking what he teaches is what's dangerous. And Andrew echoing those points, adding, I teach men how to grow into formidable forces of competence which protect and provide for everyone they love, especially the women in their lives. Attacking me, a man who stands up and tells young men how to grow into good men, is what's dangerous. But of course, with that, you have tons of people responding by saying that is absolutely not what he really teaches, with critics saying he essentially has presented two different people. Or you have one Tate that lines up with the human trafficking allegations, all the documented stuff in the past about how women are to be controlled and used, how they're less than, all the violent language that he's used around them. And then saying there's this other Tate where all of a sudden his language has pivoted, that he's trying to use it as a shield. But for now, while the court of public opinion talks about all this, and of course, with this story, I'd love to know your thoughts. For now, obviously, we have our eyes on this, and we'll see what happens with this 17-year-old. What more details will we learn, and what's actually going to happen to him? But this conversation also notably happening as we got an update about Tate's case, with the Romanian court now easing restrictions on the Tates and allowing them to travel anywhere within Romania. Though notably, they are still not legally allowed outside of the country. So that's another story and case we'll be looking for updates on. And then we need to talk about this Britney Spears situation. Because if you didn't see, she put out a video where she was dancing with knives, and the internet has been freaking out. Where she posted the video to Instagram, she's moving really quick in it, and fans were immediately worried, posting, look, this is scary. This is dangerous and not great. Where is her team? I'm tired of hearing she's an adult, she can do what she wants, but truly not in this case. And Miss Girl has me worried. One wrong move with one of those and she's gonna hurt herself. With some seeming to suggest that Britney is mentally unfit to handle herself, right? Almost implying she needs a conservatorship again. Especially as there were headlines suggesting she cut herself, as in a later video you could see what looks like a bandage on her arm, though it's unclear why she had a bandage there. Right? Technically, no one has confirmed it was from the knives. Then you had people saying she should be forced to give up her dog, saying this is a safety issue for them. But then you had a ton of people pushing back against all that and saying a lot of people seem to be jumping on the pro-conservator bandwagon because they don't like how Britney Spears is acting. Is dancing with knives a good idea? No. But we don't take away people's rights for doing things we know are bad ideas, as well as the degree of scrutiny she's subjected to is excessive. She's not allowed imperfections or any kind of deviation from normal behavior without people believing she should lose her legal right to decision-making, and that's horrific. And then, as all of this was happening, Britney updated the caption of her post to say that the knives were fake, suggesting they were a Halloween prop. With that seeming to calm down the concern around her, more people than defending her, though, a lot of people not believing the knives were fake. And all this leading to Britney essentially saying, calm down, posting another video of her dancing, this time without any potentially controversial props, and writing, lighten up about the knives, I'm copying Shakira. But that apparently being a nod to Shakira's recent VMA performance where she danced while holding knives. And so with that, you had tons of people sharing that response and saying, you know, this is a double standard. Arguing Shakira did this in front of millions, yet not one person said shit. Hawaiian dancers do this all the time. Nobody says shit. If you stop looking at Britney from a she needs help lens, you'd know this isn't a big deal. It's literally fake knives. Though some saying, you know, there's a difference between those three situations. But with all that said, especially as there's seemingly no end in sight regarding all the back and forth that's happening, what are your thoughts on the situation now, especially if you were paying attention to this whole thing during the Free Britney movement? And then, I'm just stating the obvious here. The Travis Kelce Taylor Swift situation has gotten ridiculous. I'm a fan of both. Whatever's happening, I wish them the best. But for the last week, there has been 24/7 big royal wedding-esque nonstop news coverage of them. And not just from entertainment outlets or just dumb idiots like myself on the internet, but actual, like, legitimate news organizations. Where you had whole stories being written up of, like, look how Travis was smiling here. Now, that said, there are a lot of newsworthy aspects of this whole situation. There's a lot of societal and business stories connected to it. Like, you might have already seen Kelsey's jersey sales absolutely going through the roof after this last Sunday. His jersey sales jumping 400%. With that just being a small taste of the fandom that follows her. With Kelsey's Instagram followers going through the roof, Sunday's Chiefs game being the most watched NFL game on any network last week, and very notably was specifically the most watched game among women aged 12 to 49. Also, news has spread that we might see something again this weekend, with multiple reports saying that Taylor is set to attend the Chiefs-Jets game in New York on Sunday. And what do you know? Immediately that impacted ticket sales. The price of seats immediately going up. You also had a rep for StubHub telling Town & Country that, quote, since Swift's appearance at the Chiefs game on Sunday, the Jets have sold more tickets for their game against the Chiefs in a single day since the season started, by more than double. StubHub also seeing a boost in sales for Chiefs home games in general. Travis's podcast with his brother Jason topping charts more than ever now. And all of this has even gotten me transfixed, not only because, you know, the situation is somewhat interesting to me, but also because I can't stop looking at the circus that has now surrounded it. And so where I'm going to leave you is with two questions. The first being more generally for everyone. What are your thoughts on what we're seeing? And then two, this is the same question I asked my wife, and this is specifically for the Swifties. Why are you so excited and invested in this new relationship? And that's not a question coming from a place of judgment. I asked the same thing of my wife. She gave me a very detailed answer, but I also want to hear from y'all. And then, if you're a dog lover like me, nutrition is so important for your dog's life and well-being, but also it can get costly. So I, and especially my dogs, want to thank the sponsor of today's show, Sundays. Sundays is fresh dog food made from a short list of human-grade ingredients containing 90% meat, 10% veggies, and 0 synthetic nutrients. And unlike other fresh dog food, Sundays doesn't require refrigeration or preparation because of their air drying process. Just pour and serve, and it's super easy to store. And I am not exaggerating when I tell you our dogs are obsessed with this food. They see the box and they react like my kids when I tell them, hey, we're going to Disneyland. You know, we love feeding them quality food, but the convenience of home delivery is also where it's at for us. Because in the past, I think we've all been in the position where the food's gone. Maybe you resort to sliced bread or whatever's dog friendly in the pantry, or doing whatever you can to feed your dog. And get this, Sundays cost 40% less than other healthy dog food brands because Sundays doesn't waste money shipping frozen packages. Instead, they spend the money on what matters, sourcing the best all-natural ingredients for your dog. So you should try it, and you can get 35% off your first order of Sundays. You just gotta click the link in the description and your dogs will thank you. And then, when you come face to face with a several hundred-pound killing machine, would you have the nerve to not back down? Or in other words, are you made of whatever the hell the stuff this mother in Mexico is made of? Because this is Sylvia, and she took her son Santiago, who has Down syndrome, to a park to celebrate his 15th birthday. And they're sitting at a picnic table enjoying their tacos, enchiladas, french fries, and salsa, when suddenly, out of nowhere, a black bear leaps onto the table and begins devouring their food right in front of them. And so together, the mom and son, they just sit absolutely still, just inches from the jaws of this beast, with Sylvia casting her eyes downward to avoid challenging it. And this, as her number one fear, is that her son is gonna freak out because, as she explains, Santiago is very afraid of animals. A cat or a dog, any animal scares him a lot. And this is not just any animal, this is a fucking bear. Things could go sideways very fast. But fortunately, Sylvia is a BAMF and she has planned for this, rehearsing a game with her son where they remain as still as possible and pretend to be statues. And so that is exactly what they do, with the boy also describing the tension, saying we heard him as he growled, as he ate, you could smell the bear. It was really very, very close. With the bear even appearing to sniff the boy at one point. With then Sylvia's friend Angela, who caught the encounter on video, spotting a plate of enchiladas that the bear hadn't eaten yet and tossed it far away. And sure enough, the animal wanders over to it and it gives Sylvia and her son enough space to quietly creep away. And so in the end, it's all good news. Santiago got new birthday tacos. And if he didn't already know, he learned that he has one of the best moms in the world. Though you did have Sylvia herself shooting down claims that she's a hero, saying instead, I think I'm just a mother who protected her cub. And then, what do the FDA, the New York Times, and UC Davis all have in common? They all advertise crystal meth, right? And don't worry, I'll explain. All of this has to do with how Google generates search results, right? So many websites have an internal search function where you can search for things inside that site. And when you type something in there and you hit go, it creates a new permanent web page with its own unique address to display the search results, even if there are no results. Now, for a very long time, those web pages were generally blocked from appearing on Google's general search results. But then last year, the company changed that, allowing them to appear, but promising that its algorithm would filter out the unimportant ones. Except, as we've now discovered, it's not too great at doing that, because you had Insider finding over 4 dozen websites for government agencies, universities, news outlets, and other businesses that were hijacked by drug dealers, including Insider itself, with people creating internal search web pages through those organizations' websites that say things like cocaine for sale here or buy crystal meth online. And the list of products being sold this way includes everything from heroin, fentanyl, and ecstasy to oxycodone, Xanax, and black market Ozempic. And those pages linking to Telegram channels with thousands of members where not just drugs, but guns, cloned credit cards, and bank account information are sold. So now anyone can effectively create their own web page saying whatever they want, attach it to an official trustworthy website, and have it show up on Google's front page. And apparently some of these drug dealers have a sense of humor because they've done this through websites like places for the FDA, the DEA, the IRS, Interpol, and the UN Office on Drugs and Crime. We've also seen universities and media outlets hit like the Times, Bloomberg, CNBC, the Washington Post, and the Economist. And right now it's not even clear whether these web pages are meant to actually sell drugs or just to scam people. Because if you're dumb enough to type into a Google search bar, where can I buy cocaine? Drug dealers probably don't want to get anywhere near you. But then again, it could also just be showing off how brazen they are and also tech savvy. So I guess also another way to look at this story is less to do with maybe the growing technical prowess of drug dealers and more to do with the declining quality of Google's search engine. Because for example, when the company began promoting AI-generated content this month, you had real website owners complaining that they lost huge amounts of traffic as results created by programs ranked above theirs. So for these and other reasons, we've seen a number of people switching from Google to alternative search engines like Bing and DuckDuckGo. Though for many, that doesn't feel like a viable option for them because of Google's allegedly monopolistic control of the market, which is also why it's currently embroiled in an antitrust trial with the Justice Department, which notably is the first such case in modern US history, with the DOJ accusing them of illegally using partnerships with handset makers, computer manufacturers, and browser developers to stifle competitors by making itself the default search engine. And then, would you pay $500 $200 a month for Tinder, which, as absurd as that question sounds, is actually now officially possible. With Tinder now announcing their $499 per month invite-only subscription, Tinder Select, in which you will reportedly be allowed to access VIP search and matching and can message someone you haven't matched with twice a week. You'll also reportedly have increased visibility even among Tinder's, quote, most sought-after users. And the company is saying that Tinder Select will only be available for 1% of its user base who are the most active and will offer a special badge identifying them as Select subscribers. Though, like that Twitter blue checkmark, that can be hidden, which I have to imagine anyone that's